Hey guys! So, today we are going to talk about being a kingmaker. So let's get into it. Now, what do I mean by that? What is a kingmaker? Well, I'm glad you asked. You see, there are these special moments when you, as a slightly more experienced, it doesn't actually have to be more experienced, it just has to be these special moments where you realize that you have the opportunity to make somebody else better, or give somebody else an opportunity to improve their skills and get more value from a certain task than you would at the same moment. Now, to give you a little bit of context, the other day I was tasked by my boss to have a little bit of a look at chunking out an extremely heavy flow on the company website. And for those of you who are familiar with the term of lazy loading, for example, or chunking, if you will know that the idea here is basically that you have a set of JavaScript components. It doesn't have to be JavaScript components, but for this discussion, it's going to be JavaScript components. And what you want to do is that you want to slice that out so that, in this case, Webpack has the ability to simply load the main page, and when you actually interact with the link that gets you to the next flow, then you lazy load, or you load in the assets that are still missing. That's the idea, anywho. Now, I have done this 100 times. Yeah, it pretty much is. I've done this many times. And so I was talking to my boss about this, and you see, the reason why this is something that I do quite frequently is because, and you will learn this, especially if you do a lot of JavaScript development. A lot of people don't feel that comfortable in JavaScript and in the tool suites. It's actually very rare-ish that people have experience working in JavaScript to the extent that some of us have. And what happens is that kind of spirals on you, because if you know how to do it, people naturally want you to keep on doing it. So you kind of go down that rabbit hole. This is why I've been telling you guys, what you decide in the beginning of your career to do, like what you get on your CV and so forth, it will set the tone for the rest of your career. Now, you can, of course, do what I do, and try to break out of that and like diversify yourself a little bit. But trust me, if they can smell that you know your stuff about this sort of thing, you will be the person who gets to be in charge of it. And that's kind of where I am. So here I am sitting, like basically having a talk with my manager, and he's asking me, all right, Frederick, we have some performance issues, can you like kind of sort this out? And I said, yeah, sure, I'll do the investigation. So when it comes to lazy loading, rule number one is that you don't lazy load absolutely everything just because you can, because that brings a bit of complexity with it. You start by figuring out where the heavy spots are. In other words, what flows are the heaviest. Because if you're lazy loading a single small little page that is like a kilobyte, that's not going to give you much. But if you can find something that is a little bit bigger, now that's going to be a good gain. So I did the investigation, had a look at all of the stuff, basically figure out, all right, these bundles here are going to be in this size, that size, and so forth. Then I presented the data to the team, and I said, hey, these are the bundles that are really big. If we chunk these out, we're going to get a fairly nice performance gain. And said and done, everybody felt, yeah, this is probably the places where we want to start lazy loading or like chunking things out, right? And so I then go and I have a look at the components and so forth that we can use lazy loading for. And then I stop. And I go and talk to my manager. And I say, I would like to ask you something. And he kind of goes, okay, well, what's the issue? No, there's no issue. It's more that, you see, if I do this now, I will be the only person at this company, and I'm pretty much am. My manager is fairly tech savvy. He's really good. He's my senior in many areas. And I said, yeah, you know how this works. I know how this works. But we have one more person at this company, and I point to my more junior coworker. He's Like, he's fresh out of school, really intelligent guy. I mean, holy shit, he's gonna pass me in skill level in just a year or two. I swear he will. Now, our coworker over here, I'm not gonna mention any names because that's not cool, but he's never done this, but he's fairly involved in all the front-end work. He's a junior, like, JavaScript developer. Don't you think that this would be a perfect opportunity for him to learn about lazy loading? And my manager kind of goes, yeah, actually, yeah, that could actually be useful, I think. But tell you what, Frederick, can you implement the lazy loading for one of the routes, just so he has some template code, and then we'll just let's see what happens. And I said, that's a great idea. So I did. I created some template code for one of the routes, one of the big ones, so that there was an example piece of software that you could reference if you wanted to understand how it worked. And then I went over to my coworker and I said, hey, dude, I have this thing, like I need some help. I don't really have time to do, like I did one lazy, like, you know, I was talking to you guys about the lazy loading. I've done all the benchmarks and stuff of that nature. And the thing is, I have this bug, and I don't have the time to finish these two other routes that for like lazy loading. Could you do me a solid one and maybe have a look at them? I have some reference code over there if you need some help to kind of figure out how it works. And here are some resources that you can like look at to just kind of understand the theory about how it actually works and what the benefits are. But you would really be helping me out if you could do this for me. And he kind of went, okay, sure, I can do that. Said and done. I went off to my desk, started working on my bug. And a few hours later, he came over to me and said, hey, Frederick, I need some help. Yeah, sure, I'll help you out. And we talked a little bit. I gave him some support. And then the day after, he ships and releases the feature. And now, we're one more person at the company who knows how lazy loading works, or chunking, whatever you want to call it. And see, this is what I want you to take away from this, guys. A kingmaker is not necessarily the sort of person who always just gets the job done. A kingmaker is a person who understands when something is going to be more useful to learn for somebody else. He or she has the ability, or the mindset, to figure out that there's a value in having other people around that are very good at the sort of thing. Now, your ego may tell you that, yeah, I'll just fix this because I'm so awesome. But trust me, it's going to be a lot more useful to you if you have more people around who know how to do the things that you do. Because my boss, we talked about this, and I mean, if you think about it, if I'm the only person who knows how to do this sort of thing, what happens if I'm sick? What happens if I'm gone? It's actually very useful for the company if more people know about certain things, and like you spread the knowledge, so to speak. So that's what I want you to know, and I want you to remember that sometimes, just because you know how to do it, maybe you shouldn't be doing it. Maybe somebody else should do it. Have a great day.